Hi, I'm Jake Smith. Welcome to another Boardwalk Potatoes segment from the Delmarva Peninsula. I know there are some of our Boardwalk Potatoes subscribers who do not have the opportunity to listen to me on the radio. So I wanted to provide you with the audio from a monologue that I produced for my radio show just a couple of days ago called Accountability. It's about the Trump Accountability project. Have you ever heard about that? Well, there are a bunch of communist insurgents that want to target anyone who has had anything to do with the Trump presidency, from being a part of the administration, working on a campaign, contributing to the Trump campaign, supporting President Trump. Regardless, if you have had anything to do with causing a disruption to the deep state's plans for you and for me over the past 5 years, they are coming after us if, in fact, Joe Biden is eventually sworn in as president of the United States. Now, here's how it's going to work. Just as it did back in the late 1930s when the Nazis took over Germany and they started targeting those of the Jewish faith in Germany, Jewish businesses and so forth. They, the squad and others, are going to target you and target me for supporting President Trump and MAGA. They are basically going to put us in what would be a modern day virtual internment camp. That's right. You didn't think that was possible? Well, with the abilities of the tech companies basically to isolate us and punish us for things we say, for things we do, for things we think, even thought process today is under attack. You heard perhaps Justice Alito's speech just a couple of days ago. And what an incredible speech that was, and a warning to you and to me what's coming in this country. But I wanted you to hear about my interpretation of the Trump Accountability Project. It is a virtual internment camp that our enemies want to place us in. In other words, there's not going to be any barbed wire surrounding a camp that we're going to be confined to. They're going to ruin our lives and isolate us through social media and with the help of the big tech companies. Now, here is the monologue from my broadcast just a couple of days ago, but it's still very much on the minds of AOC, who I call the princess of Marxism. She is much more powerful today than she was before the election. She feels that power pulsing through her veins, and her fellow socialist Democrats, such as Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the rest of them, they're scared to death of her, because she and her fellow squad members are gaining more strength, more power inside the Beltway. That should scare you as well. So here is the monologue that I produced just a couple of days ago called Accountability. Question is, who is it that requires or needs accountability at this point? Here's the monologue. The monologue is entitled Accountability. Have you heard about the effort on the part of the squad to publicize any American who has worked for, supported, or aided President Donald Trump? This McCarthy-era tactic by the Socialist Democrats aims to launch a massive cancel culture effort by separating anyone who they can prove helped Donald Trump either become president or helped him during his presidency. The project is called the Trump Accountability Project. At the outset, to hear the word accountability being uttered by any Socialist Democrat is hypocritical at best. Have the Socialist Democrats been held to account for any of the destruction they have launched against this constitutional republic over the last 50 years? Nope. The Trump Accountability Project, spearheaded by the princess of Marxism, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, means to do the following: isolate us from society and prevent us from working or having a normal life. That's what they mean to do. That's what their purpose is. AOC has said on the record, and I quote, "Is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future?" In other words, she expects us to act like St. Peter and deny President Trump. She also went on to say, and I quote, "Remember what they did." We should not allow the following groups of people to profit from their experience: those who elected him, those who staffed his government, those who funded him. My friends, that means anyone who supported President Trump will be targeted by these Marxists. This is nothing more than a threat to publish an electronic version of Red Channels. Wisconsin Senator Joe McCarthy became chair of the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations in 1952. For the next 2 years, he investigated various government departments and questioned innumerable witnesses, resulting in what would be known as the Red Scare. That era is known historically as McCarthyism. The McCarthy era publication that listed those Americans accused of being members of the Communist Party who worked in the media or entertainment industry was called Red Channels. But back in the 1950s, it was simply called The Book. So we should expect an electronic version of Red Channels for all of us. It'll simply be called The List. The list is anyone who gave money to support President Trump's campaign, who supported President Trump, who attended a rally, who worked for the administration, who wrote a book favorable about President Trump. They will be placed on the list. After it was published, Red Channels did much damage to the lives of many Americans. But that is exactly what this list is meant to do. That book destroyed the lives of many actors, writers, and journalists. One of them, a news anchor for WCBS TV in New York by the name of Don Hollenbeck, actually committed suicide when he was accused of being a communist by Joe McCarthy's committee. Edward R. Murrow and Bill Paley stood up for Hollenbeck, but the stress of the day was too much for him. On June 22nd, 1954, Don Hollenbeck turned on his gas range in his apartment in New York City and died from asphyxiation. His death was officially ruled a suicide by the New York City Medical Examiner. Now, here comes a spoiled socialist who wants to threaten us, supporters of President Trump, with her own brand of modern McCarthyism. But why is she doing this? Because she feels great power in Washington pulsing through her veins. Pelosi, Hoyer, Schumer, the rest of them, they are all fearful of her, and she knows it. The princess of Marxism feels so powerful that she can threaten us with something far worse than McCarthy-era tactics. She is threatening us with Nazi-era tactics. She is threatening us with a cancel internment. If we had anything to do with the last 4 years of Trump, we should consider ourselves finished. Finished with school, finished with our careers, and finished with our lives as we knew them. This Marxist twit intends to round us up virtually and place us in virtual internment camps. That's right, internment camps, where we will be confined for the remainder of our lives with the help of the Harris-Biden administration. They will, with the help of Google, Facebook, and Twitter, keep us under their control, where we will never be heard from in their Marxist world ever again. My friends, our enemies do not need barbed wire to create an internment camp in which to place us. Today's technology can easily create a virtual internment camp for you and for me, and they know that. What AOC and her fellow Marxists really want to do is create as many Don Hollenbecks as they can. In other words, they want to make life for us so miserable that we take our own lives, like Don Hollenbeck did back in 1954. That's the real purpose of the Trump accountability list. Do not kid yourselves. If this sounds sick to you, it should. My apologies to our Jewish listeners, but this is how you were targeted back in the late 1930s. But AOC and her fellow Marxists are cut from the same mold as Hitler and the Nazis. And let me say for the record, my knees will not bend for anyone other than Jesus Christ, period. These evil enemies of freedom must be defeated, and with God's help, we will defeat them and their evil plans. AOC and her fellow Marxists demand accountability from us when they offer none of themselves. The truth is, they seek revenge on us. The question is, how do we defend ourselves against the algorithms of evil? Well, that's the question, isn't it? How do we respond to the Trump accountability list? It's funny. I don't remember an Obama accountability list. Oh, wait a minute. Obama spent 8 years blaming George W. Bush for anything that was going on in this country, which did not reflect well on him. It was Bush's fault. Remember that? We heard that for how many years? There was no Obama accountability list. Was there any Bill Clinton accountability list? No. So this is nothing but Nazi era tactics by the Socialist Democrats to shut us up and to put us away so we will never be heard from again. How are they going to do that? With virtual internment camps. And that's where you and I will be sentenced for the rest of our lives if we allow them to get away with this. The question is, where is the media to hold them to account? Oh, they're part of the problem. My friends, I don't know how this is going to end. Only God knows. But in my opinion, we need to keep praying every moment of the day that our enemies, the enemies of freedom, will be defeated. Because the people who are creating the Trump accountability list, don't lose sight of the fact these people are evil and they must be defeated. For Boardwalk Potatoes, I'm Jake Smith on the Delmarva Peninsula. Until next time, Bill Colley and I should be getting together to host a joint podcast shortly. Until then, thanks for watching.